Welcome back to another episode of Trial by Podcast. I'm joined by Mariana. I'm Jason, and we have a special guest today, Amanda Lacey, who is a PR and communications expert. Amanda, thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
So last episode, we unpacked the legal side of the Ultra Violette and Choice SPF claim dispute. And today we're flipping the lens and looking at how a brand navigates a public controversy like this. But before we get into it, Amanda, could you tell us a bit about yourself and your expertise?
Absolutely. I'm actually quite chuffed to be here. I produced the first Trial by Podcast back in 2017 with a group of graduates. Yeah, so it's been amazing to see it sort of go on and grow and mature into what it is today. And well done to you guys as well for taking it to that next step as well. I've absolutely loved seeing all the content that's been coming out. Particularly out of the studio, and it looks brilliant, and I'm really enjoying watching it. But a little bit about myself. My name's Amanda, obviously, and I'm the founder of an agency called Popcom. My expertise is in crisis management and professional services. I work mostly on strategy and media, but the agency does work across a multitude of industries and a multitude of different client issues.
Yeah, that is so interesting. It sounds so much more fun than I think being a lawyer on a day-to-day. So yeah.
Sometimes I work a lot with lawyers, which we'll probably get into a little bit later in the episode, but it can be a little bit similar in that you become quite a subject matter on a particular issue or a particular case, a bit like being a lawyer. I'm sure you guys are sort of realizing you get a new case in and then, you become a subject matter in that particular area.
Yeah, that's true.
The nature of the job sort of pushes you in that direction.
Yeah.
It's a little bit similar, except we do have a little bit more fun, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
So as you know, Choice Australia has tested 20 popular SPF sunscreens and found that 16 didn't meet their label claims. And the most shocking being Ultra Violette's lean screen, which allegedly had a SPF of 4 and 5, which is far below what they claimed.
Yeah, so Ultra Violette obviously hit back hard, and they said that their products have been scientifically tested and it's scientifically impossible, defending the product with independent lab tests showing SPF 64. They also questioned Choice's methodology and sample size. Whilst this happened, the TGA then stepped in, launching an investigation into the claims and reminding everyone that sunscreen must be advertised truthfully and honestly and not misleading.
And then last Friday, which is quite a recent development, Ultra Violette announced that it would voluntarily withdraw its lean screen from the market after further independent testing revealed really varying results. And the company apologised to customers and they're now offering refunds. Another development that happened, I think, either yesterday or the day before that was Naked Sundays has also pulled their product, their mineral sunscreen.
Yeah, so legally there's a lot at stake here. Like we talked about in the first episode, Ultra Violette could be potentially claimed against in the Therapeutic Goods Act, the Australian Consumer Law as well, and then misleading and deceptive conduct, like we talked about last episode. But today we're kind of asking, how does a brand manage the public fallout, which is why we brought Amanda along. So Amanda, when you first saw this story, what was your first gut reaction from a PR perspective?
It wasn't good. I initially saw the findings on Channel 9 News. I think it was prime time, happened to flick on the news. And this is something that Choice do every year, and I'm always really interested in it because in Australia, we have to take our sunscreen seriously. It's ingrained in us to be using sunscreen every day and to look for the higher SPF. So when something like this does happen, it does make primetime news. There were several brands that didn't pass the test, as you mentioned, but not everybody can recall those brands very easily. And that's partly because of the way that Ultra Violette responded.
Yeah, so do you think Ultra Violette's rebuttal kind of helped or hurt their credibility? Do you think that tone was right for that first initial message?
Oh, no, it hurt. It hurt deep. Remember, Ultra Violette had 3 months to prepare for this, for these results to come out and to manage this response, which is actually pretty rare when it comes to a major issue or a crisis. So much so that we would actually probably classify this as an issue management as opposed to a crisis management. An issue is something that is foreseeable, and this was foreseeable. They had 3 months to prepare for it. Most people have hours.
Yeah.
When a true crisis hits, you've got hours to put something together, but these guys had 3 months. And the response that was delivered, from my perspective, it was not good. For those not familiar with what the response was, Chandler Matthews, I think she's one of the founders. It might be a couple
Yeah, she's
of
a co-founder,
so she recorded a 8-minute long video that she posted on social media. It was messy. And she attacked choice, defended the product. But the one thing she didn't really do was address what the consumers wanted to hear. And that is that, that they're taking this very seriously, and that wearing sunscreen is really important and that they're customer first. Didn't do that. The choice of way that they put out that video, it was very hostage style is what we would call that.
Right.
And it's something we're seeing a lot at the moment that celebrities do, and when they're in trouble, they post a video directly to their audience in all their messy glory with no makeup on, no sort of styling to, really get to the heart of, who they are. Which might work in a celebrity situation, but this is not that. Ultra Violette is a premium brand, and it doesn't exactly scream professionalism when you can't even be bothered to pick up the laundry in the back of the frame. Like, it was a messy video for a number of reasons. It doesn't scream professionalism when you can't put on a clean shirt and make yourself presentable.
Yeah.
So from my perspective, it was a fail.
Yeah, it felt
And these
quite
are all things I would say that subconsciously as a viewer, you don't realize they're influencing how you're consuming what they're saying.
Absolutely.
But now that you've mentioned it, it actually does, I would say, lend to, I guess, the way that they responded. It should have, it has to be met with the seriousness of what's been going on, and especially with consumers that have so much trust in that brand.
Absolutely. If you want to be taken seriously, you need to present seriously.
Yeah.
And it was also, I said, the context and the tone of the video as well. It was very defensive and a little bit aggressive, which was not what was needed right now, in my opinion.
Yeah. So as we've seen, the media coverage has been quite intense, from skinfluencers to mainstream outlets such as Channel 9 News. Everyone had an opinion. They were weighing in on it. How does media framing shape public perception in a situation like this?
Media framing plays a very large role in shaping public opinion. It's where the public are mostly getting their information from. Not to mention as well that I think a lot of people only found out about this particular issue because of that 8-minute video. And the other thing about that 8-minute video, and the reason why the media scrutiny was so high afterwards, she gave them so much to work with. During that monologue about me, she talked about how the product couldn't be decanted, how it can't withstand temperatures, it can't move. I mean, we're talking about a sunscreen product. Sunscreen rolls around the bottom of your handbag. If it can't withstand the temperatures of a laboratory, how can it withstand the temperature of the sun on my skin?
Yeah, that's so true.
So she left it up to far more unanswered questions, which, like I said, frankly gave the media a lot to work with. She raised more concerns than, actually reassurance points. And I feel like that eroded the trust, and like I said, gave the media a lot more to actually work with. As I mentioned earlier, and as you pointed out as well, there were other brands that failed the choice testing.
Yeah.
The Cancer Council had a couple of lines, as did Bondi Sands. And I think it was more around about their UV rating on the bottle didn't necessarily meet up to what Choice had come with.
That's
so
right,
I don't think it was a 4.
Yeah, no.
Yeah.
4 was the lowest, which was ultraviolet.
On the pyramid of, the upside down pyramid, ultraviolet was at the bottom, but there were a few others.
But technically,
it.
I think from the 20 of them, all of them were under the SB50 plus, except the La Roche.
There were 4.
The Roche-Posay.
Yeah, except that one. Everything else was under the 50 plus, I think. Yeah.
But the difference between what those other brands like Bondi Sands and Cancer Council did, though, and what Ultra Violet did, was they took it very seriously. They put out quite a simple statement,
Yeah.
and this is why the media isn't picking through them. This is why people aren't necessarily remembering those things. They reassured their customers straight away that they took it very seriously. We're going to do additional testing, and most of all, they showed that they really cared about their product and the end user by saying, please don't stop using sunscreen. Please keep reapplying your sunscreen. Sunscreen is really important.
Yeah.
We want to make sure that our product is the best product available. We're going to do that. But in the meantime, please don't stop using sunscreen. And that is something that Ultra Violet didn't do.
Yeah, exactly. I think you just saying that almost convinced me if you had a sunscreen brand. I think Ultra Violet definitely didn't do that. It just felt like they were trying to hide something when you have such an 8-minute long video of just raw emotion coming out. I do feel like it's almost guilty.
And remember, 3 months to prepare that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like this wasn't an off the cuff. And a lot of people, and they did do things like they had people obviously comment. They were supporters, like big names supporting their product, which is something that a tactic I probably would have employed as well. But 3 months to prepare that video, and it was a bit rough.
Yeah.
And it didn't really do anything to reassure. It probably only eroded trust more, and it gave the media a hell of a lot to work with, which is something that you don't ever want to do in this situation.
Less is more.
Absolutely. And like I said, no one can really remember the other brands because they didn't come out with that kind of a response. They came out with something short, sharp, professional, empathetic. They took accountability, and people have moved on.
Yeah. I did find that with the posting of their test results, even though now we know that the test results potentially based on the lab that they were tested at are in question, I found that something that I valued in terms of, like, as a consumer, to see that they have had evidence supporting. I mean, at the time I didn't realise that the evidence was potentially a bit, I don't know if it's botched or just, something's happened in the lab that's no one's intended on it to occur that way, or testing methodology for sunscreen needs to be wildly improved, I guess, as well. But I found that did help in terms of my
Of course, I think that
response.
saying something is better than saying nothing.
Yeah.
If there's a void, if there's nothing being said, you start filling the narrative yourself.
Yeah.
And people, and the message gets out of control. So it's good that they said something. It was just the manner and the lack of, in that time, in that 3-month period, they could have come up with something much punchier than, we blame the lab and the testing.
Yeah.
Because initially it makes you feel good because you're hearing something, but when you scratch that surface a little bit,
Yeah.
you start asking more questions, which is what a good journalist is going to do.
Yeah. And then also going to the credibility of Choice as well, which I think was quite problematic because a lot of people do trust Choice as an advocacy group. And that, like we said in the last episode, sunscreen testing is expensive. Why would they go out on a limb to test 20 different sunscreens if it wasn't going to have some merit to what they said?
Absolutely. And Choice tested it again. They retested it when they saw how low the UV rating was.
Yeah.
So they took it upon themselves to retest it. But then when we heard from Matthews, the product can't be decanted. It can't withstand temperature changes. This, that.
Yeah, it's just not good.
Not good.
Yeah.
And together everything paints a picture.
Yeah.
So yeah. Then talking about asking questions, there's often a tension between the legal cautions and PR transparency. So Amanda, how would you say that you find that balance with PR companies working with legal advisors, and what's kind of the perfect balance, you'd say?
Well, I work closely with legal all the time. So far as an ideal balance, transparency is really, really important. Not just in a crisis issue, but at all the time, I would encourage transparency. It's essential when it comes to rebuilding trust. But what's the ideal balance? Usually when a company is in crisis, or if there is an issue, at play, there is a legal risk or an opportunity for there to be a legal risk that needs to be managed, which is why PR will often work closely with legal. I feel that most lawyers now understand that no comment basically in public opinion is an admission of guilt now. So that's something that, I don't hear many lawyers saying or doing anymore. But when it comes to working together, it works well because having PR or a comms professional there to manage sort of like the human, element and a lot of that sort of emotion, and also the speed of the media, because the media moves quickly, and no offense, guys, but lawyers tend to move slowly.
Yeah.
It sort of frees up their time to concentrate
True.
on what they need to do, and then comms and PR can move things forward, manage the situation, slow it down.
Yeah.
A lot of the work that I do is slowing it down.
Right.
Like, okay, yes, we will come back to you with that statement. Really interested in speaking to you about this, and we will have a full statement for you. We're taking this matter very seriously. I will come back to you soon, as opposed to fire off quick, no response, no comment, which is, often what they'll get from the lawyer. So I've always been really comfortable working with legal. I feel that most legal are, comfortable working with me or a PR comms professional. And transparency doesn't mean opening up to risk. It just means being very careful with your language, knowing what the risk points are, and understanding what the situation is before you go making a long statement. I personally like working with legal because everything is approved before I go out.
Yeah.
So that takes a lot of pressure off me.
Correct,
so
yeah.
I like, I'll prepare a statement and I'll always run it past the legal team and say, hey, this is what I'm planning on saying. Is this okay? Will this open us up to any future risk? Is there something in here that I'm giving away? Because I assume that everything's going to end up in an affidavit at some point.
Yeah, that is true.
So for me, it's quite comforting, and I feel like most of the lawyers that I work with, are pretty happy to have someone take that human burden to manage the media and the internal and external stakeholders in speed.
Yeah, I think that definitely it balances out, because then you have experts on both sides handling both stakeholders, external, internal, separately, and it covers all bases almost.
Yeah, absolutely. And most organizations will have a crisis team in place.
Right.
So they will have set up, just as part of their normal sort of obligations. Okay, if something happens, this is our lawyer, this is our comms person, this is our, CEO, and everybody will have roles sort of set up.
Yeah.
More often than not, I'll get a call from a lawyer and that's not in place, and we'll pull a crisis team together pretty quickly.
Okay. Yep.
And when it's on, it's on. It's, like I said, it's very fast, and the news cycle is 24 hours now. But it's just a necessary part of doing business.
Have you seen that increase over time, like the idea of a crisis team in-house?
It's something that most big organizations have always had, particularly, some of the bigger companies in Australia, like, mining industries and stuff like that, where there's a lot of risk involved every day, and it's a high stakes. Yeah, they will have that in place. It's not a bad practice for every organization of any size, just to, they don't have to publicize it, but know that, okay, if this happens, this is the person that I'm going to call, because speed is really important, and not being caught out with nothing to say and throwing out the old no comment is important, whether you're big or small.
Yeah.
So you would say that you're in the business of buying time?
A lot, yeah, I am a bit. And shaping that narrative and just making sure that everybody's informed. I said the internal stakeholders are often, in my view, and I've always taken this approach, and people know that, but I feel that internal stakeholders are often more important than external stakeholders.
Right.
Because if everybody's on the same page internally and they know what the issues are and they know the approach that the company is going to take, it makes the external job so much easier.
Yeah.
There's nothing worse than, the crisis is hit. The management team is scrambling. They haven't communicated internally. Nobody really knows what's going on, but they know something's gone on because they've seen something on social media or they've seen something eking out in the news. And then a reporter calls them and they go, yeah, I don't know. Yeah, I heard this. I heard that.
Or like the recent Coldplay concert, I watched your video, your take on that, and it was such good insight in terms of.
But how great was the response, by the way?
Oh, so
good. Loved it.
So good.
Even you're talking about when the ad came, right? That was so good.
Yeah.
How she got the interview questions put back to her.
Yeah, Gwyneth Paltrow. I think that was Ryan Reynolds.
Great, that's her
company.
name,
I can't
yes.
remember. But it was such a great response.
Yeah.
And an example of pulling something together very, very quickly.
Yeah.
Not giving away any herbs and spices, but also creating some transparency. That video said, we know this is a major issue.
Yeah.
And we, are working forward, but we trust in our technology. We trust in what we're doing, so we can have a bit of fun with it along the way. And people have moved past it.
Yeah, people have.
No one's thinking the company's going to, fall apart anymore. They've got it together.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So when it comes to situations like this, once the dust settles, how does a brand start rebuilding that trust, and what messaging resonates with consumers after a controversy of this scale?
So we all know that trust is hard won and easily lost. That is the truth. That's something that we learn from a very young age in all elements of life. But you can rebuild trust, but I would feel in this particular example, their initial response and then later pulling the product, rightfully or wrongfully, tells the consumer that they have no trust in that particular product.
So that means pulling off the shelves of this product now and then offering the refunds technically has possibly damaged their reputation further?
Well, they probably should have started from that position,
Right, okay.
in my opinion. That's
Okay.
where I would have started. We're going to offer refunds and we're going to pause our product until we are certain that we are giving you the best protection that we can give you because we care about your skin.
Yeah, okay.
That's not what they did.
Yeah.
They're now pulling it
Yeah.
because it looks like they don't have the evidence to back up their claims.
Correct.
So it kind of creates more of a sense of guilt. But when it comes to rebuilding trust, there's 4 pillars that we sort of talk about consistently throughout, any sort of a crisis, and that's transparency, empathy, accountability, and consistency.
Yeah.
I haven't really seen those pillars here.
Yeah.
I haven't seen any accountability. Haven't seen a lot of transparency. Haven't seen any empathy either. There wasn't, we're so worried about your skin. We're really worried that we might have damaged or exposed you to damage in any sort of a way. And the consistency's off as well. There's no consistency with the messaging.
Yeah.
Is it a good product that you trust and you're happy to sell, or are we now pulling it off the shelves?
Yeah.
Those sort of 4 pillars, I think we've kind of failed on those.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that has a flow-on effect for their other products under their umbrella of their brand, sorry. So pulling this off and this whole issue would have a little domino effect on their brand as a whole and the other products they offer. So it's not a possibility.
Potentially, yes, but I wouldn't give up hope on them. I think that there are other products. I actually don't use Ultra Violette. I might try them. But there's been, from what I understand, they've got quite a good reputation across their other products. They should probably double down on their efforts to rebuild the trust. But you're correct. A scandal like this could topple the entire brand if not managed carefully.
Yeah. Yeah. So, Amanda, if you had to distill this case into your top 3 PR lessons, what would they be?
I don't think I can do 3. I've always got so much to say.
Go for it.
But obviously, I've said this word a lot. Transparency matters, especially when somebody's health is being questioned or somebody's at risk. Transparency is really, really important. Swift coercive action is required for rebuilding credibility. Like I mentioned before, I probably would have started with offering refunds and pulling the product until I was confident in saying, yes, this is a really good product. We have, tested and tested again. We have done this, we have done that, and here is our evidence and here is our proof.
Yeah.
But we understand as a consumer that you have these concerns and we take that very seriously. So that swift coercive action needs to happen a bit quicker. Do not underestimate tone. Like I said, if you want to be taken seriously, you need to act seriously.
Yeah.
You need to present yourself as a professional. You need to present yourself as somebody who is trusted. And use your time wisely. I remember they had 3 months to prepare for this.
Yeah.
That is a PR dream for this kind of scenario.
Yeah.
And in that time, they could have done more testing. They could have provided some more evidence. They could have crafted a really compelling story as to the why and what next.
Yeah.
They could have presented something really comforting to consumers, a bit like what the other brands did.
Yep.
And finally, the process. From this particular example, I can't help but wonder what the TGA's methodologies for testing are. all of these products were TGA approved.
Yeah, it's so concerning.
Yeah, so it's a little bit concerning, confusing as a consumer as to who to trust. Am I trusting Choice, who come out every single year and who are really strong and seem to have like quite a blue-selling reputation? Or am I trusting the TGA, which at the moment seems a little bit messy and scrambly? I'm not sure.
Yeah.
That leaves a lot of open questions, but the process probably needs to be looked at, which was my overarching sort of feeling that I've been left with from this particular matter.
Yeah.
That's really interesting because I remember that when we did the first episode, TGA also put up a response on their website informing consumers that they're undergoing their own internal testing and reviewing their methodology as well. So it's interesting, yeah.
Yeah, and which is quite common because the TGA is held as a very high standard in Australia, and it is, from what I understood, quite hard to get something approved by the TGA, but this kind of has tarnished their reputation as well.
Yeah. Even on a global level, like the TGA is considered to be quite a good and solid regulatory body.
Correct.
And which is why I have a lot of faith in a lot of like medicines that are approved by them. And, it has flow-on effects, not just from these like lower level therapeutic goods, even though I'm sure that they test their methods and their processes for things that are more serious, but
we assume.
Yeah, but I mean, we'd hope so.
We
but now
hope so.
it really brings a lot of things into question now.
Yeah, the shade has been cast.
Yeah. So finally, how can legal and PR teams work together more effectively, not just in crisis mode, but proactively?
Engaging early. Engage early, be clear about parameters and what success looks like. The more time you have with something, the better outcome you're generally going to get.
Yeah.
And like I said, be clear about what the parameters are, like who's doing what and what you expect from legal and what you expect from communications. And also, like I said, what success looks like. Where you guys call matters, and when you get a legal matter, our word is more campaign.
Yeah.
So when you're, working on something, we need to know, okay, what is the ultimate outcome here? What does that look like? And then we can craft our strategy back towards. But yeah, engaging early is always key.
Yeah, wow.
Good to know.
Yeah.
Got to pass it on to everyone.
Yeah, no, I think I learned so much. That was really insightful. So thank you so much. You're the first guest, I think, ever on Trial by Podcast.
I know, which is quite funny, isn't it?
It's like a full circle.
Full circle.
Full circle.
Yeah.
From doing the first episode to being the first guest, I think there's so much to be proud of from your campaign of the Trial by Podcast.
Thank you. I'm very
and
proud
for
of the
us
Trial
as
by
well.
Podcast.
Yeah.
Like I said, it's still, listed as one of Australia's top legal podcasts.
Yeah.
We held that spot for quite some time, but it's really great. And it's it's good to see the content that's coming out now. I'm loving the video cast.
Yeah. Thank you so much for coming on.
Yeah,
Thanks
thanks
for
for your
having me.
time. Thank you.